Hello everybody, hope you're well. I'm with Ben today. You might have seen the trailer for Ben climbing a wall earlier on in the week. In fact, we put that out at the weekend. Ben, where are you from? Let's say where are you?
So currently based down in Devon. We live near Exeter, live there with my wife and 2 children. But I travel the country and as much of Europe and the rest of the world as I can. But home, where it lies, is by the seaside in Exeter, which is quite nice.
And this cool symbol behind us is your business, isn't it?
Yeah, so this is Vanguard Global Solutions. So that's we're a coaching company basically, which deal with leadership and performance. But we have a different ethos. We want to change people's perspective on such subjects at the moment, which are very overused. There's too much which go into leadership, there's too many words around it, too many acronyms. We sort of simplified it and had a look at the heart of problems and went back to basics, and that's basically what we've done.
But you're not a normal coaching company either, are you? Because you're taking the disciplines and everything that you've applied in your previous lives into now what is the business world, and you actually coach a lot of large businesses and celebrities and all sorts of people, don't you really? But before we talk about some of the people that you coach, what was your past life that got you to here?
So it's been a rocky road really, and this is one of the reasons that we've gone into, because just so you know that my business partner unfortunately can't be here today, he's on holiday, but we're both former Royal Marines. But before the Royal Marines we had this lifestyle which personally I got myself into a lot of trouble. As a young lad, from straight away from the start, moved around school, homes, parents divorced, and had six school moves and 6 house moves very quickly. Not very unusual to what people go through these days, unfortunately. Left me quite angry, quite bitter, struggled to fit in properly at school. I fell into drugs, and I thought the only way to actually live out my life was to be aggressive, be violent. That's all I sort of really came to know. And it sort of progressively got worse from there. And I think when I was 18, I'd made the decision that I was going to be, for some reason, way beyond me now, I was going to be a bouncer. And that was in order to prove myself. I thought I had to be masculine. I thought I had to be hard. I thought that's what my part in life was going to be. So I began working the doors as a bouncer in the Bedford area and then Milton Keynes, and then things got progressively worse before they got better. And I fell further into drugs, and it only came out last year really as part of now who I am, that I actually speak openly about it, much to my mother's surprise as well, which she wasn't happy about last year. But yeah, I got completely addicted to cocaine, steroids, weed, and was in a real bad place. And then an unfortunate incident happened when I was working as a bouncer, where unfortunately someone lost their life in a fight, and that took a massive turn on my life, and I suddenly was involved in a world that I no longer wanted to be involved in. It happened because of an accident.
And how old were you at this time?
I was probably 19 and a half.
Right.
So I was quite young. It was an unfortunate situation which took place, and no one was really to blame. It just...
So how did you get out
happened.
of that?
How did I get out of it?
Yeah. So obviously you're going from that dark place to where you were back then, 19.
So, yeah, I hit rock bottom straight after that. I hit the drugs really hard, and then I was pretty much pretty content with ending myself. And then the Royal Marines advert came on telly. And when I was a young lad, I used to go to Portsmouth, which is where the Royal Marines Museum is. And I was inspired by it as a young kid, but I lost that vision as I went through life. I thought it was something else. I thought I needed to be involved in this dark underworld. And when I saw that advert, it changed my life.
Yeah.
Within seconds, I realised that was my calling in life. It was to go and become a commando. And it saved me. It saved me from myself. It saved my family from going through so much heartbreak. And within weeks, I'd kicked the drugs. I'd changed my mindset. And then 2008, applied for the Royal Marines, and I ended up at the gates of Lympstone Commando Training Centre.
Really?
Yeah.
And how long were you in the Marines for?
Oh. So I served 10 years.
Wow. Okay. So you've seen a lot of things then?
Yeah, and it was a roller coaster. And And I speak openly about the fact that I'm not the most experienced Marine. You know, there's far more experienced people than myself. There are great military leaders, there's great people within the Royal Marines who have far more war stories than me, but I think where I am at this point now in my life, it's the Marines is part of that journey.
Yeah.
So I don't sit here and proclaim to be the ultimate military leader, which is putting everything into business. It's, you know, everything from drug addiction through to finding a vision and a goal, which is what the Royal Marines brought. And then life in the Royal Marines was incredible. It was the lowest lows and the highest highs you can ever have. Saw some of the worst parts of the world. Went to Afghanistan. Was blown up in Afghanistan, which didn't help things towards the end of the tour.
So that's a bad day. If you're
yeah, it was
thinking
quite
you had a bad day before, that was...
Yeah, it was quite a bad day. Bit too close to the Taliban that day, I think. So I was hospitalised because of that. Came back to the UK and spent a number of years progressing, doing different courses, and then ended up training the recruits. But the biggest thing the Royal Marines gave me, which I only sort of realised in the last few years of my career, was actually a set of values,
right,
and an ethos and a spirit.
And what are those values that you're...
So excellence, integrity, self-discipline, humility, courage, determination, unselfishness and cheerfulness.
And you got that from the Marines?
Yeah, they're the 4 values and the 4 spirits, and then that becomes you.
Right. And I think that one of the things, I mean, I'm originally from Aldershot, so military town. I'm pretty averse when I was growing up, seeing all the troops going out and becoming a ghost town and so forth. But the biggest thing is the discipline,
yeah,
isn't it? And I would say the discipline in the Marines to get you out of where you were,
yeah, and
then remap your mind, I suppose, to these values.
The discipline as well is people. It's very misconceived these days. Everyone thinks of the sergeant major with a big moustache who just shouts at everyone and all that sort of stuff. But it's far gone from that now. There's not just the Marines, but the military as a whole. There's actually quite a lot of empathy. There's good leadership. There's extremely good leadership. There's some poor leadership. But overall, it's an incredible environment with an incredible culture within it. And everyone buys into this culture because of the values and the spirit of what we do. But the discipline's just the start point. If you can be disciplined in what you're doing on a day-to-day basis, you've only got to push probably 2 weeks to 30 days, and then that discipline becomes a habit.
So how do you now then? So you were in the Marines for 10 years. You've obviously seen loads and loads of different things. You came out, and how do you apply then what you learnt there into your business and leadership development coaching that you do now? Because it's obviously a very successful business. I mean, it's fairly new in that way. How long has it been?
So the business VGS has only been going for 9 months now.
Okay, but in 9 months you've got some. I mean, Ben's been on some pretty big stages. He's talking at loads of different events, and he's got a load of. Are you able to say some of the companies in that?
Yeah, so we've worked with Manchester United, the brand. We did a lot of work with their women's team. I can't say who because they get quite funny about it, but several of the sports lads, the football lads. I've spoken for Gareth Southgate at a tribute dinner at the Savoy, which was for the Football Writers Awards, and delivered a speech on leadership for him. We're working with several banks in the finance industry. We've worked with Keyline and Travis Perkins and Rudridge, and just these different types of organisations, and that's the way we approach it. People sometimes go, well, football and banking are very different. Well, no, they contain people. People creates an organisation. If you get the leadership and the performance right, change the culture, doesn't matter what the industry is. So we've taken that mentality from the Royal Marines, we've taken the values and the spirit into our own business. You know, we will be excellent in what we do. We'll be determined, and this is why we've had so much success in 9 months, is because we've just said, right, we'll do it. And
is that taking those, what were those values again that you were leading by?
So self-discipline, excellence, humility, courage, determination, integrity, unselfishness and cheerfulness. You know, they're the bread and butter of being a Royal Marine. That's getting through the door in Afghanistan to clear compounds if needed, or now in the business world, it's to inject into other businesses and also have within our own business, practice what you preach. Creating good cultures wherever you go and not changing cultures but improving them.
And what's the wall? Because obviously you were saying about overcoming the wall, and that's one of the things that you do when you're speaking into businesses on leadership. What is that? I mean, explain what.
So the wall. So if behind us, this is what we call our ICE tool. And myself and Tomo, so my business partner Tomo, we looked at what it is that gets you going to places, what gets you through things. And everyone has a wall. Everyone has a challenge in their life, and we spoke about your own wall and my wall, and we hit these little things every day which sort of knock us back or we have to get over, but one day there is that big wall. And everyone's is different as what it is you perceive to be the wall. So we look back on it, myself and Tomo, and we're like, how do we get to this end state? How do we get to this bit, this success that everyone talks about? What is this success? So we developed the ICE tool.
And that's this above us here now. So what's that? I mean, we can see it here. So what's the top one then?
So it actually works from bottom down. So we flip traffic lights, and the idea being that everyone has something they want to achieve in life. They have a goal, an inspiration to go out and succeed at doing. Mine's changed from being not wanting to be a drug addict to becoming a Royal Marine, earning the Green Beret, and then the inspiration in Afghanistan with the guys left and right of us. It wasn't political or for Queen and Country, it's the guys on the field at the time. Now it's about business, and even more so now it's about my family, and my children are now my inspiration. But everyone has that one thing they're driven by, but it's turning that inspiration and that goal into the success you want it to be, or into a tangible thing.
So what advice would you give? Because I posted this one. I don't know if you've done this. But this is the best exercise you ever do in your life ever. I've posted this a few times. Do that.
Let's see what we do.
Here you go. It's the best exercise you'll ever do. There you go. Why? Because you're alive and you're not in a coffin.
Yeah. There you go. Spread your arms.
Spread your arms. I've done that on a few posts and a few videos, and that's like literally when you think you're having a bad day or you've got a dark day, and you do this.
Yeah.
It means you're not in a coffin.
It was just that whole cliche. What would you say what would you want people to say about you at your funeral?
Yeah, and I think this is the thing, isn't it? And now, like when you have those dark moments, but now you look at where you are and how that's completely flipped. I mean, your world's gone from the dark days to the Marines, where you've seen things that are unbelievable. I mean, I was in the fire brigade for 8.5 years. Some people know that, some people don't, and that was a reality check until my little boy was born. And then all of a sudden he became the reality check on my daughter, and I didn't do the fire brigade anymore. But the people, the team, I mean the firefighters that we had, that was the team that we had, that you were there for that camaraderie. Everyone had your back, and you saw some dark things, nothing compared to what you'd have seen. But how does that affect you? Because obviously you would have seen so much stuff. Does any of that ever come back? And
it has come back, and the boat has been rocked several times. But I think that the more you grow with it and the more you understand yourself, like I was just sort of lost in life. Even after Afghan, I was kind of lost. I didn't really still know what I wanted from life. And it was actually a good friend who handed me my first ever self-development book, which was The Chimp Paradox. And he was like, have a read of that. And it put things in perspective. And then having children as well, I think you'd look at life differently, very differently. And then I sort of look back on what I've done in my career, what I'd done before the Royal Marines, and what I'm doing now. I'm much more aware of, staying alive at one point. I think when you've been to the edge and looked over and had a look down, you have a much more profound respect for not just life, but that tenacious ability to just go and grab what you want that moment rather than leave it.
What advice also, I mean, we've got to come back on to the tool that you have. What advice would you give servicemen and women who have been in the army for quite some time? That's a different world.
Yeah.
To then come back to civilian life.
Yeah.
That's a big transition for some people too. So
it's extremely daunting. I was relatively lucky because I was being discharged because of medical reasons, and so I was almost able to prepare for some time and build up to it. And we chose to live in Exeter. So
was that because you got blew up? Was it from that? Or?
Yeah, legacy injury, which just was putting a stop on my career, or what I wanted to do with my career.
You said you got blown up. How did that happen?
Oh yeah, back in Afghanistan. So I think we were 5.5, 6 months into a tour in 2011. We were tasked to go into an enemy. Well, they said it was an enemy village, which turned out was an enemy village, to disrupt the pattern of life of what the enemy were doing and try and get the local people to come back. We flew in the first day, and it had been quite a rough tour up to then. It'd been more bloody, less combat as people would assume. Beaches of Saving Private Ryan every day. It was less like that, and it was more watching the ground and where you put your foot placement because of the IEDs and what the Taliban were doing at the time of trying to blow us up on foot patrols rather than hitting us and engaging us. We were still involved in kinetic action with the enemy, but it was very ground watching. And we patrolled into the village and come out onto a little track. Myself and the point man stepped out, and then my commander, Vicey, was behind us. MC winner as well for his actions the day before. Said, guys, we need to push up to the compound. So we made the decision, that was the intention. So we pushed onto the track, moved up to the compound, and then 2 guys stepped out in front of us, and they were dressed in all black. They had trainers on, and they had every combat indicator of what the Taliban used to dress in. And we'd already been engaged in a certain amount of contacts the day before. We'd lost 5 lads through injury the day before. So we knew they were there, and it was just this weird, surreal face-off. They just walked out this compound pretty much right in front of us, and we all just paused and we were like, "Well, they were unarmed. We're not sent to Afghanistan just to kill aimlessly. They were unarmed, and the moment we tried to step forward to even apprehend and get them, they legged it. As soon as they legged it into a field next to us, Vice was like, "Right, lads, push up." So we immediately put the gas on, run up the track, and before I'd taken even 4 or 5 steps, the world erupted around us. And then I was just on the floor. It was just orange. The dust was everywhere. I couldn't see anything, and I had this burning sensation in my leg. So I thought it was me originally. I had been hit, but I thought it was me. I thought I'd stepped on something or I'd lost my leg, and I was on the floor in quite a bit of pain. I was concussed anyway, and then I saw my foot, and luckily it was connected to my knee, and I was like, that sort of moment of thank God. I'm okay. Where I'm hurting from isn't as bad as what I thought it was. And then the dust cleared, and I looked back down the track, and almost the whole section were on the floor, in far worse state than I was. And a massive amount of confusion kicked in. I was just looking down the track thinking, what has just happened? We'd been blown up before, we'd been in a lot of contacts with the enemy, but this was different. All of a sudden, the wall which was next to us was no longer there. There was rubble everywhere, there was weapons spread across the floor. Vicey behind me was just lying there completely out cold, and he had a severe arterial bleed to his neck as well as many other things. The guys behind him, Luke, Gav and Spence, they'd all been hit as well, and it was a completely strange moment. And I admittedly, because I was just in the wrong frame of mind, I just froze for a second, just thought, what has just happened?
Well, that's natural, right?
Yeah, I know. Talk about fight or flight. And then I just pieced myself together a little bit. My leg I looked down and it started bleeding by that point, so I knew I'd been hit. So I did my best to turn around and crawl back towards the guys, and then a lad called Richie Pencott sprinted up the track, who hadn't been hit, and jumped straight on Vicey. Started, dealing with his bleeding in the neck. By the time I got there, he was all over him. He was doing just an incredible job, and it's moments like that which sort of stuck with me, where this people ask, why do we take this military culture into the working world, the business world? It's because working alongside people, whether you're in combat or not, working alongside people which are willing to take that risk and just come to the front. You know,
Yeah.
the standard procedure when anyone got hit by an IED was that the patrol would stop. Anyone who survived it would stop. You'd then metal detect up towards where the person had been hit, and you'd do it quite quickly,
Yeah.
clearly because the person was injured, but the idea would be not to rush in because the Taliban would lay further IEDs and mines.
Did you lose any people that day, or?
No, we were very fortunate, and because of Richie's actions, he saved Vicey. Vicky, the medic, came up, and she got a MID for it as well. 'Cause she saved
And
6
what's
lives,
that?
basically.
MID for
Mentioning
people who don't-
dispatchers, so
Yeah.
it's an award for
Okay.
bravery.
Oh.
And more people should have got more from it, but
Yeah.
unfortunately that was almost a daily occurrence of that type of action happening.
There's a book of it, Simon Sinek, I think, Leaders Eat Less.
Leaders eat,
Is it-
leaders
yeah.
eat last.
Something like that. That's
Leaders eat less.
Leaders
We're getting
Eat
you-
Less. No, we're getting there. Yeah, less.
Leaders eat more.
But that was that's quite a good one, because that was going at the start of that particular book. It was going on about the Air Force and how
Yeah.
they go in and celebrate the fact that they're saving people on the ground rather than wanting to be celebrated for it. And that would have been a daily thing for the paramedics and people saving
Yeah.
the people around.
There's all the awards can be put out there if you want, but there's no bigger award knowing that the guys you were left and right
Yeah.
of, when it really hit the fan, that they survived.
Yeah. And are you still in touch with all of them now?
Yeah. So I speak to.
And are
pretty much
some of
all
them
the
part of
guys.
this with you? Or?
Not part of the business, but we bring guys in to speak.
Right.
Because they're highly credible, and I think what's amazing as well, people like Jason Fox and Ant Middleton have really opened the door up for not just special forces guys, but people with military careers to come out, and not just like the generals, but people at my level who were young, middle management type of people.
Not so young now.
Not so young, I'm 31.
31.
Credit
still,
where credit's due. But to speak about our experiences and how they are highly relatable to the working world, the business world, any organisation, and that's what we're doing. And VGS, that's why we've stepped in to do this.
And so this with VDS with Tomo, what was the red? So you said you flipped the traffic lights. What was the first one?
So it starts at the bottom, and the reason the traffic lights are flipped, it's that stop, start to go. And inspiration, like I said before, is that goal, that thing you really want to achieve, or that thing that keeps you going.
And is that the stop? Is that what you got to
Yeah,
think
because you never drop past your inspiration. Your inspiration might change, but you will never lose that inspiration, whatever it is. Or if it's your children, you're never going to go past your children, are you? You're never going to, if it's to have the biggest business, you're never going to drop below that. You'll always have that inspiration. But in order to achieve that and turn it into something, you've got to have the courage to go and do it. And we believe courage isn't how people would perceive someone running through a doorway and just getting the job done, fearless. People with courage are in high fear. They're worried about the situation that could happen. In my old career, it was you could die. Now people see, losing mortgages, losing the house and stuff like that. That's a fear, and that comes from not wanting to take that leap to go and do it. And I think we say courage, but highly embedded in courage is belief.
Right.
Belief that you can achieve. You should believe in yourself that you can go and achieve something. And this is what we've kind of taken from our own military experiences, and now putting it not just into other businesses but our own.
And this is part of, this is just a snippet of part of the courses that you do, isn't it?
So this is the performance side of things,
Yeah.
where we can speak to people about getting workers at any level to really look at their own life as well. Because if you're positive all round in your own life, in your family, healthy, then the byproduct is you're going to be very good at work as well. You're just going to be happy. You're going to be more positive. And courage is getting people to believe in themselves and begin to take that step. Plan for the step, move forward.
And that's this amber state that you've got into, isn't it?
And you can go forward, you can go back, and then the green is an act. It's to do it. Nike built a brand off just do it. Train to do.
We were talking earlier as well, because you got an act, and one of the things that leaders or entrepreneurship, they get stuff done, which is like the army and the military that you were saying, getting stuff done. This is the enact, because a lot of people don't even do this. In fact, a lot of people don't even get to this the courage stage.
No,
actually.
they just stay with an idea, and dreams are just goals in your head, aren't they? They're nothing until they're actually in front of you.
So this, do you use this then this is in the leadership training?
So this is in performance. So we sort of split the business down the middle and said, okay, we're going to have two things. We're going to do leadership, and we're going to do performance. And leadership, we built a program and a workshop called the ISTA Leadership program. And ISTA is very simple. It is individual leadership, servant leadership, transformational leadership, active leadership.
Okay.
So you get a lot of companies going, oh, how do we make our leaders better? Right, let's go back to basics. What's the individual like as a person? And then we can even incorporate the performance side by bringing the ICE tool across and saying, let's look at how they're day to day, what are they like as a leader, what are they like away from leadership. Get that bit right first, then move on to servant leadership.
So what makes a good leader then? Like for like any of the business owners or managers out there that are looking, what would make a good leader?
It's getting people to follow you. It's inspiring people to believe in what you see as the vision, the goal, to inspire people to follow you into whatever it is, into the fray if it needs to be.
And you need to have, you had to have strong leaders in the military to then follow you to go into battle. They go into battle.
And I don't proclaim to be like a leadership expert at all. What I've done is I've noticed things. I've taken lessons away from everything I've seen. I've noticed what strong leaders do. I've noticed what weak leaders do, and tried to piece it together into something to not come across and say, I'm the leader, listen to me. Saying this is how it works within our environment. This is why we're so successful, especially within the Royal Marines. This is why it works. You choose to use it or not. You asked the question of why are we such good leaders? Why do we have great performing teams? Why do we have a great culture? This is why. This is what we use. So that has a massive part to play in it. But I sort of talk about like this leadership cocktail of, I made some appalling leadership mistakes in my sort of youth career as a leader, and then learned as I went along the way. And I think that don't look over your shoulder what you've done. Just learn from your mistakes and move forward. And there's people out there who probably hate me, recruits wise, and I'd love to think there's far more that love me.
I think that's one thing with leadership in general, isn't it? Like you have to through the walks of life of learning, you aren't going to appease everybody, and you are going to make mistakes, and that's fail first attempt in learning. It's just actioning that mistake to become better. And at the moment you're now doing this you're talking to lots of different brands, lots of different companies to apply this model that you have, because there's no right or wrong, there's different. So like you're saying earlier, this isn't, you're not saying this is the best way, you got to do it, this worked for you. You're drawing on your experience of what it's worked for you, for your friends, for Tomo, for your colleagues, and saying, how can this be applied into the business world? And the interesting thing is the assumption that you'd assume that the business world would actually have all of this, but even the massive companies, and I know we work with very similar brands, lots of the big companies, they are departments, but they're like small businesses themselves, and they don't actually have the answers. So stuff like this is a great starting point for some of them to draw back to go, okay, what's my inspiration for doing this, whether that be personal, whether that be professional, whatever that is. And what bucket does that fit into? Does that fit into a well-being bucket? What are those things? So that's it. It's a great starting point on this. Now, you've got an event coming up soon, have you?
We've got we've got several. We've actually started to look at the SME world now, and we did really well in going straight up to the top. And in January, working with Gareth and doing a speech for Gareth Southgate and all these big characters, and we were kind of missing the bit in the middle where we were like, well, we would like to help everyone. You
can't unlearn what you've learned, right? So we work with the brands, and you work with big players and big people, and you take that knowledge and then transfer that to everybody.
And it's because every SME or most small businesses want to grow. They all want to grow. They want to grow to an exceptional level. You'll only find a small few like, not really for us. We want to stay small. Most people set a business up to grow something. So what's fantastic for us is to go and work with the big brands and the big businesses, and come back and go, look, this is the lessons we've learned. These are the mistakes they've made. This is where we're helping them fix it. But you can actually stop that now within your small 6, 7, 8 person team.
And that's what's expedited your growth in the last 9 months.
It's just learning and looking around. And I think sometimes someone once said to me, have the blinkers off. You've got to have that goal. You've got to be fixated in that one thing, but have your blinkers off so you can look around as well. What's everyone else doing left and right of you? What's everyone trying to achieve? Is it dog eat dog? Is it money driven, or are people passionate? Where are people growing well? And we looked at that as a business way as well. We're two former Royal Marines. I didn't know anything about business when I came away from the military. I don't know. And so we had to learn everything. We had to learn everything. And we made some mistakes. We've made some exceptional positive movements. But it was about looking around. And now it's going back to the smaller businesses and saying, look, this is what we've implemented ourselves. This is what the big companies have done well. This is what they've done wrong. But the reason we chose leadership and performance was not because they're the two things at the moment at all. But in our eyes, they're the only two things that run a business. Right. Leadership and people performance. Everyone thinks it's money, it's about what people specialise in, what's their role, their rank. It's not. It's the people. People make a business. If the leadership's good, the leadership's positive, it's creating a culture, you're creating followers, and if the people are performing well, as in themselves, not for the company, but in themselves, goals, keeping fit, healthy, whatever it is they choose to do, succeeding, then everything else is a byproduct of that. In its droves, we feel. You're going to make more money if your people are happy at work.
Yeah.
If that's the intention, don't be driven by the money. Be driven by your people, and then the money is going to be a byproduct. And this is what we've implemented into our own business as well. We kind of said, because our life experiences are quite
vast, really.
Vast,
for his
yeah.
age now,
and Tomo's, I'm not going to tell his story because
he's got to come in
and tell it himself, and he's got to stop being on holiday.
Who authorised that? Holiday.
Unbelievable. So we started to implement this ethos within our own business that we're not driven by money. Right. We're driven by making sure people we're getting the message across correctly, people are performing better, leadership's improving, and businesses are changing. It sounds so cliche, but we're getting a kick out of seeing businesses improve. And then everything else comes with that. Whereas I do feel the coaching environment is starting to slip more towards chasing pound notes and not actually inspiring people to do better within the organisation.
Yeah, I think money helps and pays for stuff.
Yeah.
But the inspiration, the reasons why you do stuff. It means what we were talking about success. Success doesn't actually have to just be money.
No.
It can be coming out of a dark situation, flipping your life, and then building a future.
Yeah.
It can be sport, it can be anything. And money is really a byproduct of success.
Yeah.
Because success done well is actually more people are attracted to the positivity, the positive mindset of things. We're obviously going to be sharing some stages later in the year and doing lots of things together, and it'd be good to get Tomo here. What does success look like for you now? What does success look like?
Success is an evolving thing. Right. I don't see it. It's not a tangible product. It's not something that I can put my hands on. A nice car or a bigger house. They're nice things to have, but that's not success. Success now for me, and going back to the ICE tour, and my inspiration is ensuring that my children don't move around the country like I move around the country, and ensuring that my children don't make the mistakes that I made by me being able to be empathetic with their situations, what they're going to go through, and not be a naive, closed-minded parent thinking I know the world, but saying, look, I did that. Have you thought about not doing that? And seeing them grow. And at the same time, seeing Ant's children grow. And it is quite family-orientated, and that to me is success, to ensure that my children don't go down the path that I went down. And I've had to live quite this strange amount of experiences, from really troubling myself to joining the Marines, going to war. I've ticked a few boxes along the way, and now going into business, and I want to help my children. I'll never allow them to have the silver spoon in their mouth, but I want to give them experiences at the same time that will create this life journey for them, and then hopefully in the future they can step into the world. And we've had this conversation about creating all these contacts and people to know in the world, so our children have people to talk to. Yeah, they've
got friends everywhere.
Yeah, and I think that to me is success. And my children are like the aiming marker for that. You know, that's who I am intentionally working night and day for, to ensure they have the life they live, the life they can live, which is good. But also the people around them, the children around them. I do some free work with my local schools to mentor children, you know, the local gang and all this stuff, to say, look, you know, I had a massive cocaine issue because I wanted to be the person you're trying now to be. And I almost completely ruined my life for it. And not just my life, everyone's life around me. You know, and trying to get people, I think to inspire is the wrong way to say it, is to mentor and say, you choose to make that life. You can choose to make that life. It's up to you. This is what I would do, and
You've got the battle scars for that.
Yeah.
That nearly killed you, and because you had those battle scars, and because you did that, you can flip it and go, that ain't a good place to be.
Yeah, and this is where we're finding quite a bit of success. I say the word success. That is the success. You know, just seeing people maybe change their life a little bit differently. I delivered a talk recently for Keyline, which is one of the major players in the construction business. And I gave the talk. I spoke about ICE, I spoke a few points about my life so far, and then finished on my children. And then a lady came up about half an hour later in tears, saying, "Oh, I've just rung my children, you know, just tell them I love them, that I miss them, I'm at this event." And I thought, that's incredible, you know. I was just telling my story on stage, and now what inspires me, and it's inspired, you know, there was more people within that audience which I know made changes, but she went away and rang her children just to tell them she loves them. I thought that's awesome. That's success.
Yeah,
that's an impact rather than.
And I think one thing actually, I was at a conference and this was really quite powerful. So in business, lots of people work all the hours God give. Okay, and I was on stage and there was loads of businesses and people busy, you know, really, really busy. And they said on stage, "How do children spell love?" Do you know the answer to this one?
No.
How do you think kids spell love?
I reckon they'd spell it L-U-V.
Right. So the answer to this question was time.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I tell you what, it knocked so many people.
Yeah.
It put me into a lot. And this was way back then, before, when I was working in the business, probably 10, 15 years ago. But I sort of saw that was like a steam train hitting me.
Yeah.
Because I was working and I was hitting all the hours, and you know, hey, you still work, right? But it was time.
Yeah.
And it was really funny because people didn't expect that, and it literally nearly put you could see all the business owners and all the business people virtually come to tears, not be able to hold that back, because they were so busy working in or not on or doing all those things that actually life memory hooks were being missed. And for me, on my story, when obviously I overcome cancer, I didn't have a regret, because I spent loads of time with my family and my kids. So that was awesome, because I was in a position to work on the business, not in it. But things change and cycles go, and then you start working more and more and more. And people, but then if you enjoy what you're doing, then it's not working.
No.
As well. And I thought I'd say that because that was something that maybe on one of the
It's true as well, because people talk about this life-work balance, where apparently you've got to get the scales bang on. But that's incredibly impossible, especially for many people watching this video. They're probably entrepreneurs, young startups, people which are involved in their business. You can't work 9 to 5 at a small office or at home and expect to grow a multi-million-pound business. It doesn't work like that. You have to invest the time. But at the same time, you're doing all that work for your children, you know, and your family. So the work-life balance is, one day it's got to be down there.
Yeah.
And you've got to put everything, you know, Saturday, right, okay, we're doing nothing on Saturday but being a family. We're going to have a dressing gown day and we're going to watch Disney Pixar movies. And that's it. And nothing, don't even check your phone if you can.
What's your favourite Disney Pixar movie?
My favourite Disney Pixar movie? Oh, I do like Moana.
Moana, okay.
Is that even Pixar though?
Moana's Disney.
Yeah. Monsters Inc. was on the other day, so I'll have to go Monsters Inc. now.
Tom, is Moana's Disney, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, it's a Pixar, it'd be Monsters Inc.
Yeah, Monsters Inc.
Yeah. But but then the next day, you know, well, not Sunday, but whatever day, you've got to put all the hours in, and so the scale
Yeah,
tips
I
back
mean-
the other way.
Yeah, totally.
And everyone's trying to do this. Just let it do that. Let it do that. Be comfortable in saying, right, Saturday or Friday. I have Tuesdays, I work from home on Tuesdays, and I don't even work from home. I might pick up the odd phone call here and there because it's the day where my daughter doesn't go nursery. Being in the military, I missed a lot of time for my eldest Zach growing
I was
up.
going to say that's been really hard because you've
Yeah.
done lots of tours.
Yeah, so it was going away and moving around the world and stuff and not seeing him all the time. So then, you know, I looked back on that part of my life and go, well, I need to invest that time into my youngest. So I take Tuesday off and we have daddy, daughter day, and that's it. The phone might ring, I might pick up the odd call, but I don't really sit behind the desk at all. It's me and her. But then the next day, Wednesday, the scales go the other way and it's back to getting up at 5 a.m. and going back to bed at...
So what's the one piece of advice you would give a young person right now coming into business?
So I'll start with two.
Okay.
So the first bit of advice was a question I probably didn't answer not long ago about what I'd say to the military guys.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So one
So-
piece of advice you give the military guys coming into civilian life.
Believe in yourself. Military people. So, you know, because we went on to the whole male suicide thing after that and depression and what kicks in.
To put that down to the camera on the, you know, the piece of advice then you'd give to, because there's a lot of people in the military and ex-military and lots of people then trying to adjust. That's a
Yeah. They're
big-
not a hired weapon. You're
Right.
not... That was a trade we did. And I know loads of people and they do fantastic what they've gone and done in the security world or project management, but we believe that when we leave, that's our only skill set, that we must have a weapon system or we must lead within a managerial role. Well, actually, if you take a step back, you've got an incredible ethos, you've got an extremely powerful set of values, and you've got incredible leadership skills. You could go and change the world if you really wanted to try and do it. You know, that mentality of I can do anything. If you've been to war or been to extremely life-changing situations and got through it, well then you're quite capable of starting a startup or going into business or whatever it is, setting up property.
And those stories should be shared, right?
Yeah, and I think, well, one of the values is humility, which is in the Marines is, you know, don't gob off too much. Well, a few of my mates would say I used to gob off all the time, but whatever, that's part of my character. But don't big time it too much to people outside the world. You know, you just keep your stories within the ranks. But actually, the civilian world wants to hear stories. You know, what can we learn from guys at war? What can we learn about training? What can we learn about leadership? And it's not all about the war stories and stuff like that out in the field. It's, you know, just the daily environment, the leadership, the team ethos, the culture. And I'd love people to leave the military believing in themselves, that they are no longer a hired weapon or project manager. They can go and do anything. You know, the world is your oyster when the shackles get taken off.
That's also the blinkers as well, isn't it?
Yeah, just go for it. You know, that's what me and Tomo had done. We just thought, well, we've all both almost died a couple of times. Let's just go for it and see what happens. What's the worst? But to anyone who's now starting out, this is where this really comes into play. This ICE, you know, our own success as a company and us as people, me and myself and Anne, is if I can do it, you know, as someone who was on the brink of doing myself over, as a drug addict, addicted to things that are hard to get off, and change my life, I'm just no different from anyone else. I just decided that I was going to do it. I switched my mindset. I joined an incredible organisation where I met incredible people. It changed me as a person. I did incredible things, and now I've taken all that and put it into business. Anyone can do anything. And I always go back to such a simple point that we put a man on the moon. You know, if we could put Neil Armstrong on the moon, you can pretty much do anything if you really choose to do it. But it's believing in yourself, have that inspiration, have that courage to go and do it, and then take that step. Because 1 out of 50 people will go and take the step, but the rest won't. They'll sit back and watch everyone else do it.
And there's a quote, we said it earlier, not in this, when we were talking, which come from Napoleon Hill. The seed of from every adversity comes the seed of a greater or equal opportunity.
Yeah.
And taking those opportunities and actually asking the universe and the world for stuff. Actually, if you ask, it will come back.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, oh, like we're talking now, we're going to do, get the big event going on in the end of the year, do lots and lots of things together. But people sharing networks, sharing success stories, they're all little ripple effects. If you take one message from all of this, if that's self-belief or looking at the I system, which is awesome, by the way, if you look at that and apply that to your business or to yourself personally, then it's one. That's the ripple effect. You throw one stone, it causes ripples, and then that just keeps on going. So hopefully, you will look at that, and just before we close up on that, just go through that one more time. So you flip the traffic light system.
Yeah. So it's inspiration at the bottom. You won't ever go past your inspiration. Everyone's got an inspiration, and you'll always stop at that, even if it's just in your head. And then you move forward into believing in yourself and having the courage to go and do it. And then you've got to do it. You've got to enact. And if you ever stop or have a problem or have a setback, don't stop and switch arcs and go to a different focus.
Mm-hmm.
Just take a step back and remember why you're doing this. Simon Sinek's why is incredible if you look at anything like this as well. What is the reason you're doing this for? Go back to courage, believe in yourself, remember the last time you had an attempt at something similar, how did you feel? If that doesn't work, go back to inspiration. And people like us, who the inspiration is our children, that just drives you forward again. And you're never going to stop then, are you?
Yeah, no.
So awesome. ICE, everyone a dark day, remember ICE.
Awesome. Okay, well that's that. Above there, you're going to come back and we're going to get Tomo.
We've got some good stuff on
here anyway. Thank you all for joining us. Tom's on the camera behind. Tom's news actually started on Friday. You can't see him at the moment, so we'll see. He's going to pull this together for you all. Have an awesome evening or afternoon, wherever it is where you are. Have a good one and speak to you soon. Take care.